Good morning. Tuesday, early in the morning, a little after 5 a.m. Raining lightly outside. You can smell the rain. I've been a bit negligent as far as getting videos out. It's the 20th of September. Things are unraveling in the economy, and things are progressing really nicely for the enemy. So I'd really like to continue this series of lessons from the Bible. What I think I'm going to lean towards, greetings, my name is Dr. John Taylor Kent. I'm a retired corrections psychologist. I'm a Bible reader. Really concerned about what's going on these days, like you probably are if you're tuning in. So, as far as my personal life goes, I'm still looking at other motorhomes, looking for something bigger, allow me to be a little bit more functional with ducted air conditioning, so that I won't go, so I can run the air conditioner and still be able to hear myself think. Had the dog out. I was gonna have her maybe show up here, but she went after the carpet again. She's destroyed my carpet. She needs a job. She's not a regular dog. She's got to be kept busy or she gets destructive. That's just the way the breed is. We are being invaded. We are being flooded. And as far as a lesson from the Bible today, what I want to point out is that we're being destroyed with a flood of peoples. And if I was to use the illusion, think of a dragon spewing a red tide of water out of its mouth to overtake the people of the land. That's pretty much what's going on right now. Now, I really want to help you to undo some of your brainwashing, and some of mine too. They got us all brainwashed. None of us escapes it. A lot of the brainwashing occurs from the pulpits. A lot of it comes from the seminaries. A lot of it comes from your Bibles, especially the study notes and footnotes in the Bibles. They're not to be trusted. The Bible is probably the most heavily edited book on the earth. I think they cut it up and spliced it together. I think that we need to be reading it so we can understand and maybe outthink these people that have fixed their sights upon destroying us. Oh, and destroying us they must do. It's in their nature. They can't stop it. So are we supposed to just bow down to diversity and let them destroy us? I mean, do we have to value their values above our own to our own destruction? So the picture in the Bible of dragons spewing out a flood to go after the woman and her son, very appropriate today. And when you read floods in the Bible, you need to think people. The flood of Noah involves some pretty wicked people that had corrupted their way upon the earth. That's the biblical language. That's the perspective. And needed to be destroyed. So it was in the day of Noah. It will be in the day of the return of man. Now, I don't think he's coming back anytime soon. I don't know if he's coming back, to be honest with you. I read about 6 days of the Lord, 6 different major events that appear to be exclusive, separate from each other. And I don't see how you can have all that stuff happening at one time, but I guess it's possible. So what I want to tell you about today is that right now the reports are that there's some construction booming inside the country right now. You're not hearing much about this, but they're building up housing and they're building up, I guess, towns, places for huge numbers of people to come and live among us. And from a separate path, word comes in, and I can't tell you where this is from, but the word slipped out from a document or maybe a cabinet meeting, but the word has slipped out from this current administration that their plans are to invite and bring in 100 million more. Now, if we're already at 335 million, 100 million more is about 1 out of every 4, if you will. I guess they figure with that much of a burden to support that we'll never be able to lift up our heads again because they'll have us in debt. They do that with their phony money system. And we do not have any checks and controls over this government or the international bankers. They're lying to us about everything. They're printing up money much, much faster and much, much greater amounts than you can even ever imagine. So they're debasing the currency and they're using all that money against us. All that phony money is being used against us to build this stuff for 100 million outsiders to come inside and live in their country. At the same time, they're attacking our gun rights. They have to protect us from ourselves. It's bovine excrement. I think that we stop complying with their irritating gun laws now because they're not constitutional. They're all unconstitutional. Well, the Gun Control Act of 1968, they put that son of a bitch together because they failed to investigate the crimes. Why did they fail to investigate the crimes? Well, let's face it, boys and girls, our own government assassinated our own president. Kennedy got assassinated by our own government. And definitely Martin Luther King was assassinated by our own government. Yeah, I'm saying that for you black folks that might be tuned in. We got to start talking the truth about these things. He was whacked by a guy apparently working for the FBI using a 30-06 hunting rifle. The guy owned the bar across the street. It was an easy shot for him. I don't even think it was 100 yards. Hit him in the throat. Didn't kill him. They took him to the hospital in an ambulance, to a hospital they had prepared for him, where the physician, the emergency room physician, took the pillow and finished him off. Well, we're ruled by murderers and thieves, as I've told you many times. In order to get a handle and have checks and balances, we have to have real money. We have to have money that cannot be counterfeited. It cannot be made out of thin air. It has to be tangible. So, what's the lesson from the Bible on money? The lesson from the Bible on money is that it is a tangible material, a physical asset, a physical store of wealth. What does it consist of? Well, we know from ancient times that grain was considered money in a certain sense. It definitely was stored wealth. It changed the whole face of the planet once we could harvest grain and put it up for storage and didn't have to go out there busting our butts chasing down the woolly mammoths and the saber-toothed tigers and trying to survive like that. When we read in the Bible, we find that money is gold or silver. So we know it's a tangible material, physical. So you can't make gold and you can't make silver. At least as far as I know, we haven't figured out how to do that yet. But you can mine for them. You can expend labor and energy and get those out of the ground. And not only is money gold or silver, but there's a weight to it. So it has to weigh a certain amount. So every time we see money mentioned in the Bible, it talks in terms of a weight, a talent of gold, a shekel of silver. So we have a weight, so that's measurable. But probably more important than that is we have a quality, a purity, a consistency. And we know that it has to be refined, much like the Lord has to refine people. So the dross has to be burned out of it. And so, generally speaking, it's melted. The impurities are burnt out of it, and you've got pure gold. And the gold of Ophir was regarded as the purest. And there was gold and there was silver that was not very refined, mentioned in the Bible, that was basically worthless. So money comes in forms of metal coins, silver, and gold. There's a purity to it, and there's a weight to it. If we had constitutional currency, which is the only thing that is constitutional in the country, they wouldn't be able to do the stuff they're doing, like hiring people to murder you and me, like hiring people to do all kinds of horrible stuff to us. They reward people for doing evil. So the lesson from the Bible is money is gold and silver coin. Gee, where have I heard that before? In our Constitution. And our Constitution is the law of the land, which is why they gave us this law of the sea, this merchant law, this admiralty law, this foreign jurisdiction that they've superimposed over us. You see, rather than picking us up and moving us to the far side of Assyria or taking us to Babylon, to another jurisdiction, they've superimposed their foreign jurisdiction upon you and me here. So most of the laws that are in this land and the governments that are in this land are fraudulent. They're fraudulent. You understand what I'm saying? There are no statute of limitations for two crimes, two sins in particular. One is murder, and the other is fraud. So the fraud that was committed early on in the formation of this nation is still up for prosecution, still up for correction. Yes, I'm a retired corrections psychologist. So I need you to understand that we have to go back to original money, not Bitcoin. It's possible to use that, but certainly not with central bankers like we have today. Central banksters is what they should be called. And in case you're wondering, we're not too far from living during the times of Pharaoh. Think about it. And one of my teachers, a friend, says that we have to have the time of Joseph. That's next. Okay. I got on my robe. I guess I can play that role for a little bit, huh? No, I'm no Joseph. But I am that I am. Yahweh, Creator, Father, created me for a purpose. I haven't met it yet, so I know my life is good for a little bit longer. And what is my purpose? What is my mission? Well, one of my goals is to sell Bibles and to turn you into Bible readers. Why? Because if you're reading the Bible, I don't think you can be deceived so readily. I think that if you learn to love truth and justice, if you learn to love truth, then you can administer justice. You can't administer justice without truth. And right now we're all running around half-cocked thinking we know up from down, right from wrong, left from right. They've got us divided in every which way possible, and they have us confused in every which way possible. Anytime they can change the science to screw us up and make it only accessible to a few professionals and even make it hard for them, well, what I'm getting at is you all read the Bible with a damn square head, and it's not working. It's not working for you. They got you believing things, fairy tales, They got you believing things that aren't real. Let's talk about Christmas. They got you believing in that. And that sure as hell is not in the Bible. Matter of fact, the odds are it's got to be the birthday of one of the wicked ones that they gave us, December 25th. Anyway, I want you to wake up to the fact that we are under severe threat, that they are going to flood us, that they're doing their best to take away our means of self-defense. Don't comply with that. They are definitely winning right now. And the problem is they've unleashed an agent upon us which has already killed most of you, most of us. And we don't know who's infected with their agent. And I'm not talking just about brainwashing now. I'm talking physically. What we do know is that this thing is going to go off over time. And they've already done the bulk of their work. So I ask you to take care of each other and look out for each other. We are going to become few and far between. Right now, I'm looking at different statistics, but the, what do they call that? Well, the unusual increase in deaths across the planet is very high, but the evil ones control the news media, and so we can't get that. They control the government, so we can't even get it through freedom of information. I've heard from one health professional in Canada that there's been 1 billion sudden deaths. Now, I would think we would be able to see that. But if the medical community is totally controlled and writing off on their deaths, certifying old age and all kinds of other conditions when it's caused by an agent, well, we're not going to get to the truth that way. We are seeing a tremendous resurgence in concern and in care for the country, and people starting to realize that we are in trouble. We are seeing a resurgence that's not very healthy, in my opinion, because people are too busy believing in the fairy tales. You ask me what I believe. Well, I read the Bible. I believe what it says, the overall picture. I think I understand it. They're not preaching the overall picture in the corner big box churches. You're not going to get it there. The seminaries, I think they controlled those since the mid-1800s, 1850s. And the Bible translators, for the most part, have been controlled, with the exception of the one that I happen to represent or work for, whose Bible I sell, Name Publishers. Name Publishers is not controlled by them. Yes, it's a copyrighted Bible. We have to protect that work. So it is copyrighted. It's said that the laborer deserves his wages. So those who have done the work do deserve to be paid. You're going to find this Bible, when you look it up, to be 1/3 the price of the other mainstream Bibles that you've known about for a while. But I've been a little bit negligent on this, and I've got to call up and learn some more things before I start spouting off what I think of the facts. But I believe this was published in 2015, copyrighted in 2015, and then the actual print version was copyrighted in 2019. I believe this is the best Bible we have, the closest thing we have. I have asked for a parallel translation with a decent version of the King James side by side, because the King James has got so much research behind it, with all the concordances and all of that, and then Bullinger's work and a lot of other great men's work, that I think it's worth having a parallel translation immediately. And there's no reason to hold back on that, except that the printer, we're not allowed to do business with them because of this current administration. That sucks. I've also asked for an Apocrypha. That's a taller order. That's much more difficult. That's going to take a lot of time. And I'd really like to see that now. I have 3 copies of the Apocrypha. I haven't looked at the third one. It's still pristine. But I've got the old King James English version, um, which is questionable, by the way. And I've got the new Revised Standard Version in the Modern English. And of course, that's questionable too. So I'm looking for a better version of that. Um, what I want you to do is I want you to pray. If you're going to pray for me, it's real simple. Pray that God gives me the resources to carry out my mission. I think that does come in the form of another motorhome for me, something larger that can carry more weight, a little bit more room. I think that also, really, we need to pray for the nation and for the stability, because we aren't going to make it without that. I think things are happening so fast that I'm looking at some hills and getting ready to go there if I have to, because at the end it says head to the mountains, and I'm thinking that's probably a good idea. But I require a lot of medical care that I'm not going to be able to get up there, and I like having cell service. I like having internet service, although you have to realize that all of that stuff was designed and developed and released in a way that also harms our health, especially the mental stuff they put out there for us to swallow, hook, line, and sinker. Don't swallow their shit anymore. Sorry, I got to say that, but I just got to say it. Feel free to correct me if I've made any errors. Most people are asking people to like the videos. I'm probably thinking that goes without saying. I guess if you don't like it, you hit the thumbs down. And since the Biden administration, they no longer report on the numbers of thumbs down. Yeah, the guy that got 80 million, 81 million votes. Yeah. What we know is that we are totally captured right now. We are in captivity. We are, well, tell me what you think. Do you think we're in Egypt, or we're in Babylon, or we're in Assyria between the Assyrians and the Medes, where we were placed, our grandmothers and grandfathers were placed a long time ago? So what's up and coming? What am I going to be covering? Well, I'm going to do some series on women. Women need shoring up. Yeah, I got issues with women, okay? I mean, we all have issues with the other gender. That's all there is to it. But I don't think women are getting a fair shake. But then again, they're getting too much. And what's happening right now is marriage in our society has been destroyed. Men aren't getting married for good reason. This government is horrible. If you're a man and you want to get married, my advice to you is to get a prenup, and go get yourself a female attorney to have you write up the prenup. I don't care. I mean, if a woman wants to be a professional and can do the job, fine. But there was a fellow who had a prenup drawn up by his attorney. And, well, actually, the prenup was drawn up by his fiance's father, and he took it to the husband to be, the groom took it to his attorney. His attorney says, well, it's fine. Nothing wrong with it. But I'd put an infidelity clause. I'd put a fidelity clause into it. So that if she's unfaithful, she doesn't get anything. Whoever's unfaithful doesn't get a thing. Well, she was unfaithful, and she didn't get a thing. If she's unfaithful and she goes into the court and you don't have a prenup, she's going to get everything. So she's going to get rewarded for her bad behavior. There is a marriage contract in the Bible. It's in one of the Apocrypha books, the book of Tobit. That's the only evidence that we have of a written up kind of license. It was described best as a contract. We do have the tradition of, covenants. And a covenant involves the shedding of blood. And I think that a marriage originally, the sex act was the marriage ceremony, if you will. That was what marriage was in the old days, in the early days. You didn't have people coming and going. And it got to be a real physical, important physical thing. And we're going to cover things. I'm going to be going over what it takes to be a sugar baby. Well, yeah, I like the attention of young women. I'll admit that right now. I got a friend whose daughter is 35, and I didn't tease her, but I'm going to tell her daughter's too old for me. Well, she has a beautiful young daughter. Um, I think what's important to me at my age is somebody who actually loves me. But what's more important to me is children. If you can't have children, don't bother me. I mean, we can be friends, but there's a limit on that. If you can have children and you're interested in me, by all means, bring it on. Uh, I'm an old man. I'm beyond sugar daddy age. Um, Listening to the shows, wow. I need you to understand a few things, and that is that we need to use the Bible as a good yardstick, a good guide for us, and it actually will bless us to do that stuff. That's the main purpose of it, I believe. Tell you how to live. It's a history book. It's a law history book. And these people running around telling you that you're saved by grace and you don't have to obey the law, I'm sorry, it doesn't hold water to me. There's something in there that's majorly disconnected. So I want you to understand that in order for us to have any accountability in this government, we have to go to honest money that will force these politicians to do things above board. But it's too late at this point. We're totally captured. We're in captivity. We're being held in a foreign jurisdiction, and they intend to destroy us. They're going to bring in 100 million guests and to weigh us down more, to burden us, and I'm going to bet you most of them are going to be fighting age men. And then they're arming up this federal government, so there's plenty of full automatic weapons in the government, especially the IRS. They get the one that I want for myself. What the hell are they doing with hollow point ammunition, too? Even our military can't use that. That's self-defense round or hunting round. Anyway, I hope you get the gist of things. I hope you're picking up for things that I missed that I'm saying myself to you, because I know that's what I'm capable of. You need to understand the Bible's capable of saying a lot more to you than just the written word that's on the page. But take it at face value and take it literally at first, and then you will see some of its analogies, some of its similes, some of its metaphors. Some of it's just plain symbolic. But get out your Bible and read that Bible. If you're going to be a believer, a follower of the way, that's what the apostles called it in the New Testament, or the faith of our fathers, which is what Jesus, your Jesus, my Yeshua, said. He referred to it as the faith of the fathers, from what I can tell. So that's good enough for me. If you look at it carefully, you'll realize that Christianity was basically a cuss word back then. Yeah. Well, I know this is advanced thinking for you. It's not exactly milk. And I think this lying, deceiving religion has got to end. I don't mind that the corner big box churches fail. But I do mind if we don't read the Bibles. All of our founders read the Bibles. They were educated upon it. The Pilgrims used mostly the Geneva Bible, which was a good version of the Bible. What's the best version of the Bible? The one you read. Get about it now. Yahweh bless.